Hi everyone, let's go over how to complete the assignment for the second stain consultant notes. So you have been assigned as the consultant to this case. So you're going to look back through some of the details and answer questions and offer your observations. You are going to put to use your new knowledge of crime scene investigation. So if you need a refresher, go back to last week's study guides where you learned about crime scene investigation, because now you're going to apply those skills to the adventure of the second stain. You need to make sure that you've read the story first before you attempt this, because it's going to help your ability to answer the questions correctly. All right, you have to know the story in order for this assignment to make sense to you. So that story is in the Sherlock Holmes unit in your Brit Lit course. So the first question is the interview. You're going to analyze this passage, and this is the part of the interview process of crime scene investigation. So you need to tell 3 important facts about the case that you learned from this passage. Then for this passage relates to detective work, specifically paying attention to details, using evidence to draw accurate conclusions, and reasoning backwards. If you remember, last week we watched a video with Benedict Cumberbatch that talked about that showed you how this was done. So knowing what detective work involves, answer this question. Why was Holmes prepared to walk away from the case at this point in the conversation? So you're going to read this and then answer that question. Then, if you recall from one of the articles last week, we talked about 5 things Sherlock Holmes introduced that still apply to detective work today. One of those was the use of ciphers, those coded messages. So why would the letter to the sender of the lost document have been sent as a cipher? Then read this passage and think about one possible suspect, Eduardo Lucas, has been murdered. This newspaper article shares details about the scene of that crime. Focus on some key details as you answer these questions. Between what times was Lucas murdered? How was he murdered? And what is the likely point of entry and exit for this crime scene? Where did the murderer enter and exit? How do you know? Again, detective work involves these things: paying attention to details, evidence, reasoning backwards. So Holmes is acting like a crime analyst, connecting pieces of data. He's doing solid detective work. Explain which of the 3 bullet points above you think he is displaying the most here, and tell why you think so. So is he paying attention to details, using evidence, or reasoning backwards? Don't say all 3. You need to pick one. All right. Dr. Watson shares this observation about the house scene of the crime. As a consultant, which of these 7 processes are you most concerned about and compromised here? Why? Again, you need to pick one of them and emphasize why. How has the security of the scene been compromised in this passage on the left-hand side? And then think about motive. By this point, we know that Hilda Hope has taken the document. What was her motive? Why did she do it? And again, with this part of the passage, we get more details about the murder of Lucas here. What was the motive of his murder? She killed him because... And finally, with this assignment, it's no test passage, just a final question. So as a consultant in this case, what technology would you recommend to be purchased to aid future crime investigations? What video, computer, or crime lab processing might have been helpful to solve this case more efficiently? All right, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.